Lin Dong's attack was swift and fierce. Meanwhile, Peng Hao, having taken the brunt of their earlier clash, found the primordial energy within him in disarray, causing his reactions to slow. He could only watch helplessly as Lin Dong, face brimming with murderous intent, closed in. In that moment, a flash of fear filled his eyes. He finally understood just how ruthless the young man before him could be. "You brat! How dare you!" Just as Lin Dong's lethal palm strike was about to slam down on Peng Hao's skull, a thunderous roar erupted from within the 9 nether sect's ranks. A shadow flashed out like a ghost, appearing beside Peng Hao in an instant. With a swift movement, 2 fingers curled and struck forward. Hiss! Vast primordial energy condensed at the figure's fingertips, wrapped in swirling black aura, the unmistakable presence of death energy. A death mystique stage expert? The force behind the attack made Lin Dong's expression darken, especially the death energy entwined around it, which confirmed his suspicions. A hidden death mystique stage powerhouse lurked within the 9 nether sect. Though his killing move had been intercepted, the cold glint in Lin Dong's eyes only grew sharper. Without hesitation, he allowed his palm to clash directly with the figure's deadly strike. Bang! The impact shattered Lin Dong's offensive in an instant, a jolt of sharp pain shooting through his palm. Yet, in the depths of his black eyes, a ruthless light flickered. Without missing a beat, his right foot arced upwards like a blade, mercilessly slamming into Peng Hao's chest. A violent shockwave rippled out as both Lin Dong and Peng Hao were sent flying. As he soared backward, Lin Dong let out a muffled grunt, while Peng Hao screamed in agony, spitting out a mouthful of blood. A petite figure swiftly appeared behind Lin Dong. With a small hand pressed against his back, a surge of blue light halted his retreat. "Lin Dong, are you okay?" Mu Lingshan asked anxiously as she stabilized him. "I'm fine." Lin Dong shook his head, then turned his gaze forward. Standing next to Peng Hao now was a gaunt, hollow-eyed old man with a head of gray hair. The old man's eyes gleamed coldly as they locked onto Lin Dong. "You old turtle! How shameless of you to launch a sneak attack!" Mu Lingshan's large eyes flared with anger as she insulted the gray-haired elder without reservation. The old man's face darkened as he shot a venomous look at Mu Lingshan, before turning back to Lin Dong with a cold sneer. "Boy, you've got a cruel streak. This was just a duel. Did you really need to be so ruthless?" "You've got some nerve, old man," Lin Dong scoffed, his voice dripping with mockery. This was a one-on-one fight, and naturally, there has to be a winner. Unless he admits defeat, the duel continues. Besides, this is the Chaos Demon Sea, not some sect where brothers spar with courtesy. What? Should I wait for him to recover his primordial energy before continuing the fight? Several of the surrounding experts couldn't help but chuckle at Lin Dong's words. Most of them were seasoned veterans of the Chaos Demon Sea, far from being soft-hearted. Beating an opponent while they were down was a tactic anyone would use. Lin Dong had simply been more decisive than most. The gray-haired elder's complaints about ruthless methods only earned him silent scorn from those around. In the Chaos Demon Sea, if your methods weren't ruthless, you'd have been swallowed up long ago. "Sharp-tongued brat," the elder snarled, his eyes flashing with cold fury. Lin Dong ignored him, his gaze shifting to the pale, heavily wounded Peng Hao. With a smirk, he called out, "Brother Peng, are we done here? Or should we continue? After all, many friends here are eagerly awaiting the outcome." Hearing this, Peng Hao's face twitched, turning a shade darker as rage brewed in his heart. "Yeah, Peng Hao, what's the verdict? Can you still fight? Or should we keep going?" Right. We're all waiting." Laughter and jeers rose from the crowd. Normally, these experts might have stayed silent, but the heart of Thunder was tied to this duel's outcome, so they were paying close attention. Hearing the surrounding mockery, Peng Hao's already ashen face darkened even further. What was meant to be a trap for Lin Dong had now turned into his own humiliation. The previous exchange had clearly left him at a disadvantage. His injuries were severe, and if he faced Lin Dong again, that ruthless man would certainly take the chance to finish him off. The elder at his side might not be quick enough to save him this time. The experts from the Nine Nether sect reacted immediately, their expressions shifting. Some seemed ready to speak, but Pang Hao waved them off with a dismissive gesture. His face was dark as he glared at Lin Dong with venomous eyes, as though he wanted to devour him alive. "Heh, brother Pang Hao, how generous of you. Since you've admitted defeat, go ahead and hand over those 30 hearts of thunder. Everyone here is waiting to share in the spoils," Lin Dong said cheerfully, ignoring the murderous look Pang Hao shot his way. Pang Hao's face turned even darker. 30 hearts of thunder. That price stung deeply, even for him. But with so many powerful figures watching him like hawks, he knew better than to go back on his word. After all, while the Nine Nether sect was influential, they couldn't rule over the Chaos Demon Sea unchecked. Lin Dong, eat what belongs to the Nine Nether sect, and be careful it doesn't kill you. Pang Hao inhaled deeply, and with a flick of his wrist, 30 orbs of thunder energy flew out from his cosmic bag, heading toward Lin Dong. Lin Dong smiled, and with a wave of his sleeve, half of the 30 hearts of thunder were drawn into his own cosmic bag. The other 15 shot toward the surrounding experts. Everyone, just as promised. "Huh. There's enough for all to profit," Lin Dong laughed. Boom. The moment the experts saw the 15 hearts of thunder flying toward them, their eyes gleamed red with greed. Primordial energy exploded as they shot forward like lightning to snatch the prize. 15 hearts of thunder seemed like a lot, but for these powerful cultivators, it was barely enough to satisfy them. Naturally, a fierce battle broke out as they scrambled for the orbs. Lin Dong, however, paid no further attention to the chaos. He had divided the spoils, and who managed to claim them was no longer his concern. Pang Hao's eyes twitched as he watched the 30 hearts of thunder get quickly divided. His gaze grew darker, and he fixed a sinister smile on Lin Dong. "Everyone, the personal grudge between Lin Dong and my Nine Nether sect will now be settled. If you don't want to be our enemies, I suggest you stay out of it." The moment Pang Hao said this, the members of the Nine Nether sect immediately turned hostile. They had suffered a major loss earlier, but now, it was time to reclaim their due. The other experts hesitated at his words, their eyes flickering briefly before they backed off. None of them were foolish enough to risk offending the Nine Nether sect for Lin Dong, even if they had benefited slightly from him earlier. Lin Dong hadn't expected their help anyway. His eyes narrowed as he observed the murderous intent emanating from the Nine Nether sect members, especially the gray-haired elder among them. This man was at the death mystique stage, and his strength likely rivaled the demon scorpion from the evil wind cave. To deal with such a powerhouse, Lin Dong knew he would have to rely on the heaven-burning cauldron. But doing so would leave him severely weakened, something he could not afford in this dangerous situation. The Nine Nether sect wasn't about to play fair after their earlier setback. "This is turning into a bit of a problem," Lin Dong muttered to himself. "I told you before, what belongs to the Nine Nether sect isn't something you can afford to take." Pang Hao's face twisted into a malicious grin as he waved his hand sharply. "Kill him." At his command, dozens of Nine Nether sect experts shot forward, their body-refining martial arts unleashing a torrent of deadly attacks toward Lin Dong, their killing intent palpable. Lin Dong and Mu Lingshan stood side by side, their bodies surging with powerful primordial energy as they prepared to counter the onslaught. Whoosh! Just when everyone thought a fierce battle was about to erupt, a sudden black light shot up from the Thunder Rock ravine below. It struck the Nine Nether sect experts at the front, sending them flying backward with blood spraying from their mouths. The unexpected turn of events left everyone stunned. Their eyes immediately turned to the Thunder Rock ravine below, where torrents of black light surged up from the depths. At the center of the swirling darkness, a towering figure slowly emerged. The figure radiated an aura of pure evil, as if a demon god had crawled out from the depths of hell. An alien demon? Lin Dong's face turned grim as he stared at the figure, a trace of fear flashing in his eyes. The black light spread like a tidal wave from the depths of the ravine, and the gathered experts could only watch in shock. As their gazes landed on the massive figure within the light, their expressions grew more solemn. The oppressive aura emanating from the figure made their hearts pound in fear. "Damn it! What the hell is this thing?" Why is this cave mansion filled with such bizarre creatures? Who would go to the trouble of crafting so many puppets? This one seems stronger than the silver corpses we fought earlier. So what? We've already suppressed all those silver corpses. What's one more? Whispers soon erupted throughout the crowd. After the earlier victory, the gathered powerhouses no longer seemed as fearful. After all, regardless of the circumstances, they held an overwhelming advantage in numbers. However, Lin Dong couldn't help but feel his heart sink as he listened to the murmurs. His eyes were locked on the massive figure shrouded in the dark light. The sinister aura of the alien demon was far more intense than any of the silver corpses he had encountered before. So this is an alien demon? Lin Dong asked softly in his mind. No, not exactly, Yin shook his head. In life, this was a powerful human, but the alien demon aura corrupted him deeply. It seems the demon that struck him must have been at least general grade. General grade, Lin Dong's gaze tightened. Alien demons at that level were equivalent to human experts in the revolution stage. This man's strength in life was likely at the perfect completion of the death mystique stage, only a step away from the revolution stage. Unfortunately, he met his end at the hands of that general-grade alien demon, who placed a demon mark on him, sealing a sliver of his consciousness within his body. Now, he's nothing more than a mindless killing machine. How ruthless! Lin Dong's heart pounded with fear. These alien demons were truly vicious. Not only did they defeat their opponents, but they also refused to let them go easily, instead using such cruel methods. Find a way to get out of here, Yin warned. This demon corpse is extremely dangerous. Even though its current strength might not match what it was in life, it still likely possesses the power of a great completion death mystique stage expert. Even with so many powerhouses here, it won't be easy to take it down. Lin Dong nodded slightly. With his current abilities, even using all of his techniques, he could only barely contend with someone in the early stages of the death mystique stage. If it were a great completion expert, his only option would be to flee. While Lin Dong and Yin conversed, the experts from the Nine Nether Sect and Xintian Palace also shifted their attention to the figure emerging from the dark light due to the sudden change in the situation. That thing is powerful. Be cautious, the gray-haired elder said gravely as he stared at the massive figure slowly walking out of the black light. What exactly is it? Pang Hao asked, wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth with a frown. I'm not entirely sure, but it's definitely not a friendly being, the elder replied, frowning as well. It seemed that even he didn't know much about the alien demons, given how rare they had become in this world. So, what do we do now? I can sense an incredibly strong thunder force within its body. If it can be turned into a heart of thunder, just one could hold as much thunder force as all of ours combined, Pang Hao said. We'll wait and see for now. If the opportunity arises, we strike and take the heart of thunder. The gray-haired elder's eyes flashed with ambition. He too had sensed the immense thunder force within the demon corpse and was clearly eager to claim it. And that brat? Pang Hao's vicious gaze turned towards Lin Dong. No need to rush. As long as he's in this cave mansion, he won't be able to escape. We can deal with him once everything is settled, the elder sneered. Humph, that kid won't get away. Pang Hao nodded, his face filled with venomous hatred. Meanwhile, over at the Xintian Palace, Lu Xiangxuan and her group were also whispering quietly. Their focus, like everyone else's, was on the powerful demon corpse that had suddenly appeared. Boom! At the bottom of the Thunder Lake, under everyone's watchful gaze, the massive black shadow finally stepped out of the dark light, revealing itself to all. Now, the crowd could finally see its true form. It was several times larger than an ordinary human, resembling a small giant from a distance. Its body, which must have once been a shining silver, was now covered in sinister black demon marks. These markings coiled around every inch of its body, looking like countless black worms crawling over its skin, sending shivers down everyone's spine. Its eyes were pure black, devoid of any life or emotion, making it appear as if it were a dead thing. As the crowd stared in stunned silence, the giant slowly raised its head. Its dark, evil-filled gaze swept across the gathered powerhouses, and as it did, An inexplicable chill surged through everyone's hearts. For a moment, no one dared to make the first move. The powerful figures floated in the air, their eyes fixed warily on the massive figure, creating a tense standoff. Neither side seemed willing to make the first strike. Gulp. In the midst of the silence, someone nervously swallowed, the faint sound echoing like a sharp note in the quiet atmosphere. As the sound reached the ears of the gathered powerhouses, a dangerous glint began to flicker in their eyes. It was clear they didn't want to be cowed by this demon corpse. Suddenly, a sharp shout rang out, abruptly cutting through the tense atmosphere. In an instant, dozens of figures shot forward, unleashing torrents of primordial energy that transformed into ferocious martial techniques, surging toward the figure shrouded in black light. Whoosh! Their attacks tore through the thunder-slurry waterfall and struck the black figure directly. The surrounding thunder slurry exploded violently from the impact. "We hit him." Seeing this, many faces lit up with joy. However, before the smiles could fully form, they saw the figure slowly emerge from the smoke. The sinister black demon marks flickered across his body, but he appeared entirely unharmed. The combined strike of these dozens of reincarnation powerhouses hadn't caused the slightest bit of damage. What terrifying defense! Some of the strong cultivators felt a chill crawl up their spines. An uneasy sensation began to creep into their hearts. This silver corpse wasn't like the ones they had faced before. As they wrestled with their shock, the black figure's eyes glowed with an intense demonic aura, and from his mouth came an eerie, high-pitched screech. Swish! The shrill sound waves spread out as the figure suddenly shot forward. As he passed, afterimages lingered in the air, his true form appearing like a ghost right in front of the group that had attacked. With a flicker of black light, he tore through their formation and appeared behind them. Bang! 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 The moment the black figure reappeared, the bodies of those cultivators froze. Moments later, their throats exploded in clouds of blood, each one bearing a fist-sized hole, surrounded by writhing black demonic energy. In the blink of an eye, the energy invaded their bodies, corrupting their essence spirits. Agonizing screams echoed, only to quickly fall silent. The bodies of those powerful cultivators fell, sinking lifelessly into the depths of Thunder Lake. Hiss! Everyone who witnessed the massacre gasped in horror, their eyes wide with shock. This was no ordinary fight. This was a slaughter. These were over 30 elite warriors, all at the great completion of the life mystique stage. When they worked together, even a cultivator at the perfect completion of the life mystique stage would have had to retreat. Yet, in mere moments, they had been wiped out by that black figure. It was at this point that the crowd finally realized this black figure had reached a terrifying level of power. Phew! Even Lin Dong was visibly shaken by the scene. He exhaled deeply, not hesitating for a second before grabbing Mu Lingshan and shooting toward the surface of Thunder Lake. Whatever that thing was, it was beyond anything they could handle. As Lin Dong decisively retreated with Mu Lingshan, the black figure's dark eyes flickered, and for the first time, a faint trace of confusion flashed through the otherwise emotionless gaze. That is, the devouring ancestral talisman. A raspy, indistinct voice came from the black figure's mouth. On the surface of Thunder Lake, the sound of water splashing echoed as two figures darted out. Thunder slurry splattered in all directions, accompanied by a low rumbling sound. At this moment, several other powerful cultivators hovered around the lake, poised to dive into the depths. When they saw Lin Dong and Mu Lingshan emerge, they were momentarily surprised. But Lin Dong had no time to worry about them. His gaze remained fixed on the lake below, sensing an increasingly violent surge of energy from its depths. It seemed that a fierce battle was raging at the bottom of Thunder Lake. However, Lin Dong didn't believe that even the group of powerful figures down there would be able to do much against the demon corpse, which had reached the great completion of the death mystique stage, especially not with just a few strong cultivators from the Nine Nether Sect and Shintian Palace, even though they had a warrior at the small completion of the death mystique stage. Lin Dong, are we really just going to leave? Mu Lingshan asked, her large eyes filled with a hint of regret as she glanced back at Thunder Lake. No matter how valuable the treasure is, it's not worth losing our lives over, Lin Dong said with a smile, lightly flicking her forehead. That thing is too dangerous. Even if those strong cultivators manage to defeat it, the cost will be enormous. We're better off staying out of it. All right, Mu Lingshan pouted but nodded, knowing that Lin Dong's cautious nature wouldn't allow them to take such a risky gamble. Let's get out of here. Just as Lin Dong scanned the area, preparing to leave with Mu Lingshan, his eyes suddenly sharpened. Massive waves surged into the sky before crashing down with a deafening roar, resembling a thunderstorm that engulfed the entire Thunder Lake and its surroundings for miles. This sudden spectacle caused the powerhouses who were preparing to dive into the lake's depths to freeze in place. Their hesitation was soon followed by the sight of figures being violently thrown from the rising pillars of thunder slurry, tumbling helplessly to the lakeshore. Many spat blood upon impact. Around Thunder Lake, chaos erupted. Those who hadn't yet entered the lake stood in stunned silence, baffled as to why everyone was suddenly fleeing. Retreat now. A powerhouse who had landed clumsily on the ground screamed in terror, his gaze fixated on the raging waves of Thunder Lake. Boom! As his shout echoed, Thunder Lake suddenly exploded. A towering wave, stretching for miles, rose into the sky, and at its peak stood a hulking figure, cloaked in dark light. Sinister black aura swirled around him, casting a shadow over the entire sky and dimming the world around him. What is that? Such terrifying power. Eyes all around Thunder Lake stared in disbelief at the figure atop the wave, and murmurs of fear quickly spread. Lin Dong's face turned grim as he watched the scene unfold. That demon corpse is no joke. Even with so many powerhouses, they couldn't subdue it. It's a good thing I didn't engage it earlier. As this thought crossed his mind, Lin Dong glanced toward the distance, where the forces of the Nine Nether Sect and Xintian Palace had also retreated from the lake. Like him, they were staring warily at the figure on the wave, clearly recognizing the danger it posed. What do we do now? Pang Hao, wearing a dark expression, stared at the scene. Earlier, they had attempted to fight, but suffered casualties. If it weren't for the intervention of the gray-haired elder by his side, their losses would have been even worse. That silver corpse's strength, it's likely reached the great completion of the death mystique stage, the gray-haired elder said ominously as he gazed at the silver corpse. Great completion of the death mystique stage, huh? Pang Hao frowned, clenching his fists before muttering through gritted teeth. If we go all out, we might still be able to deal with it. We haven't even reached the deepest part of the cave mansion yet. Wasting our strength here isn't worth it. The elder shook his head. Even if its body holds a powerful heart of thunder, it won't compare to the treasures deeper inside the mansion. We shouldn't clash with it here. Hearing this, a flash of frustration crossed Pang Hao's eyes, but he was smart enough to understand the elder's reasoning. After a moment of thought, he nodded. Withdraw. At Pang Hao's command, the tension eased among the 9 Nether Sect members. Avoiding a fight with such a formidable creature was naturally a welcome relief. Looks like the 9 Nether Sect is retreating. Lin Dong had been keeping a close eye on them. The moment he saw their actions, he knew they had no intention of confronting the demon corpse either. Xintian Palace is retreating too. At the same time, Lin Dong noticed that the forces from Xintian Palace had started to pull back as well. Clearly, they had reached the same conclusion. We should leave too. Without hesitation, Lin Dong swiftly grabbed Mu Lingshan and headed towards the deeper parts of the cave mansion, not waiting for the 9 Nether Sect or Xintian Palace to act first. Boom. But just as Lin Dong made his move, the dark figure atop the thunder slurry suddenly flared with demonic energy. Its cold, emotionless eyes rippled with a strange light as it turned its gaze directly towards Lin Dong's direction. Everyone, join forces and kill this beast. The heart of thunder inside it would be a peerless treasure if we can claim it. More and more powerhouses were arriving around Thunder Lake, and someone shouted greedily. Yes, we have strength in numbers. There's no need to fear it. Attack! With these cries, over 100 figures shot out, their combined attacks raining down on the dark figure like a torrential storm. Lin Dong heard the sounds of battle behind him and shook his head, increasing his speed. But just as he was about to vanish into the distance, he felt a terrifying surge of energy from behind, followed by the anguished screams of countless people. Each scream was filled with overwhelming terror. Clearly, the dark figure had begun slaughtering again. "A bunch of fools," Lin Dong cursed under his breath, his body moving even faster to escape this dangerous area. "Lin Dong, it's chasing you." Just as Lin Dong was feeling relieved at his quick escape, Yan's voice suddenly rang out, making his face darken. He quickly glanced back, only to see a streak of dark light cutting through the sky, chasing after him like a bolt of lightning. Seeing the approaching dark light, Lin Dong's face turned grim. He knew this situation was likely caused by the devouring ancestral talisman inside him. "Let's go now." Lin Dong's heart was filled with anxiety as he urged Mu Lingshan to hurry. In an instant, he pushed his speed to the limit and disappeared toward the horizon. Around Thunder Lake, the scene was utter chaos. Blood and corpses floated on the darkened water, staining its once clear surface. The few remaining powerhouses, their faces pale with fear, watched the dark figure in the distance, too terrified to even consider pursuit. "That thing seems to be heading in Lin Dong's direction," said a gray-haired elder, surprise flashing across his eyes as he gazed into the distance. Upon hearing this, Pang Hao was taken aback, but then a cruel smile crept across his face. "That unlucky brat. Well, it's just as well. Let the silver corpse deal with him. It saves us the trouble. Move out." With a wave of his hand, he led the 9 Nether Sect forces, hurrying toward the depths of the cave mansion from a different direction. The other powerhouses around the lake followed, but none dared entertain any thoughts about the silver corpse. They knew that creature was simply too dangerous to handle. When it comes down to it, staying alive was still the priority. Whoosh! 2 streaks of light flashed across the sky, moving so fast that they created a low sonic boom. Lin Dong's expression was grim, pushing his speed to the extreme. He could feel the dark figure behind them getting closer, clearly faster than they were. "Brother Lin Dong, watch out." As Lin Dong was contemplating how to escape, Mu Lingshan's panicked voice suddenly rang out. He snapped his head up, only to see the space ahead of them distort. A burly figure, emanating an ominous aura of alien demon energy, appeared out of nowhere. "Lingshan, if things get dangerous, you must flee." Lin Dong's heart sank as he gazed at the demon corpse blocking their path. He spoke in a low, steady tone. Mu Lingshan bit her lip, clutching the life and death coffin lid tightly to her chest, her big eyes flickering with a bright blue light. "Get ready to fight for our lives." Lin Dong took a deep breath, his eyes turning cold and sharp like a blade. No matter how formidable this creature was, he would never surrender without a fight. The dark figure hovered in midair, its black eyes locked onto Lin Dong. After a moment, a flicker of emotion rippled through those otherwise expressionless eyes. Its body trembled slightly, as if struggling. Slowly, it raised its hand, and a hoarse, trembling voice emerged. "Devouring! Ancestral talisman! Help, help me!" The voice, rough and indistinct, carried an ancient, labored tone. Lin Dong's expression froze, shock spreading across his face as the sharp edge in his eyes softened. "You still have your consciousness?" Lin Dong's gaze was fixed on the figure shrouded in malevolent demon aura. After a moment's hesitation, he asked, testing the waters. The dark figure remained suspended in the air, its eyes flickering, showing signs of intense struggle. Lin Dong could see that it was fighting against the alien demon energy within, trying to break free from the mindless, murderous state it was trapped in. "Help me!" it repeated, the plea in its voice more pronounced this time. "Yin, what's going on? How is it still retaining a sliver of clarity?" Lin Dong asked quickly in his mind. In the past, he had encountered many demon corpses tainted by alien demon energy, and without exception, they all became killing machines, completely losing their sanity. Nothing had ever been able to retain its mind under such corruption. It's likely because its body was submerged under Thunder Lake for 1,000 years, soaking in the thunder's power. This would have suppressed the alien demon energy somewhat. Moreover, The alien demon who killed him back then deliberately sealed a trace of his consciousness within. Now, it seems this sliver of clarity has found a crack between the balance of thunder power and alien demon energy, allowing him to regain some awareness, Yin explained, deep in thought. Then, what can I do to help him? Lin Dong murmured. He sensed the devouring ancestral talisman within you. You should know, alien demon energy is extremely malevolent, and ordinary forces can't purify it. Lin Dong felt an immediate sense of difficulty upon hearing those words. He was well aware that the ancestral stone and the devouring ancestral talisman inside him both had the power to eradicate alien demon aura. However, the aura within this demon corpse was far from ordinary. Even for him, removing it would be quite challenging. Worse still, if that aura managed to invade his body, it would be a serious problem. Faced with this situation, if he refused, no one could predict whether the demon corpse would go berserk again. If that happened, they would be dealing with a mindless, murderous demon corpse at the great completion of the death mystique stage. That scenario would be even more of a headache for Lin Dong. What a hassle! Lin Dong smiled wryly. He hadn't expected things to take such a turn. This demon corpse had come to him for help, and it seemed like there was no way around helping. If he didn't, the alien demon aura in his body is indeed incredibly strong. Even for you to remove it, you'd need to rely on the 3 divine artifacts, Yin remarked. The 3 divine? Lin Dong's eye twitched. Of course, he knew what Yin meant: the ancestral stone, the devouring ancestral talisman, and the ancient cosmic formation, all hidden within him. It would be the first time he had to use all 3 of his deepest secrets at once. Please, release me. The demon corpse's body trembled more violently as Lin Dong's mind wavered. A faint ripple appeared in its pitch-black eyes, and its voice carried a deep plea. This kind of centuries-old seal had likely been the most horrific torture imaginable for it. Deep within, a sliver of its consciousness remained, watching its own body being slowly corrupted and reduced to a mere killing machine. The helplessness and sorrow were enough to drive anyone to despair. Seeing the endless sadness in the demon corpse's eyes, Lin Dong's clenched fists gradually relaxed. He let out a soft sigh and nodded slightly. I will do my best. Though he knew there was a significant risk, he also understood that in this moment, refusing was simply not an option. Thank you. Upon hearing Lin Dong's words, a surge of gratitude appeared in the demon corpse's dark eyes. Ling Shan, guard me here. Make sure no one disturbs me. Lin Dong turned to Mu Ling Shan. Mu Ling Shan nodded heavily, gripping the life and death coffin lid tightly in her arms. Seeing this, Lin Dong waved his sleeve, and the heaven-burning cauldron flew out. He then looked toward the demon corpse. Enter the cauldron with me. I will do my best to purge the alien demon aura from your body. As soon as Lin Dong finished speaking, the demon corpse shot forward, diving into the heaven-burning cauldron without hesitation. Lin Dong followed, transforming into a streak of light as he entered the cauldron. Mu Ling Shan watched the two enter the cauldron, then sat down cross-legged in midair, her large eyes scanning the surroundings warily. Inside the heaven-burning cauldron, Lin Dong stared at the demon corpse standing before him. The dense alien demon aura rising from its body made Lin Dong's eyelid twitch involuntarily. With a thought, a black light shot out from the top of his head, transforming into an ancient, black hole-like symbol. A powerful devouring force radiated from the symbol, and all energy around it was instantly drawn into its depths. The devouring ancestral talisman. The demon corpse with its demon markings gazed at the suspended black hole-like symbol, a flicker of excitement in its dark eyes. It had sensed correctly. Senior, the alien demon aura inside you is overwhelmingly strong. My current strength alone won't be enough to remove it just with the devouring ancestral talisman, Lin Dong said after summoning the talisman, his tone thoughtful. Just do your best. I will endure as much as I can and do my utmost not to harm you. The demon corpse rasped, its body trembling violently with every word. Its eyes flickered between wicked killing intent and clarity, showing the intense struggle to suppress the bloodthirsty urge inside. Lin Dong gave a slight nod. I do have other means that might help remove the aura. If all goes well, there's a chance this could work." As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Dong flipped his palm, and a brilliant light array appeared. It quickly expanded, growing into a massive formation spanning hundreds of feet. Hovering in midair, waves of strange energy rippled outward. After summoning the ancient cosmic formation, Lin Dong opened his mouth, and a soft, white glow shot out, materializing into a stone talisman. The talisman emanated equally impressive and strange energy. With the appearance of the 3 divine artifacts, the space inside the heaven-burning cauldron began to warp, and the primordial energy in the surroundings grew faintly turbulent. These divine artifacts. The demon corpse looked up at the colossal formation and the stone talisman, a dazed expression in its eyes. Though it didn't recognize these 2 items, it could sense their immense power. "Senior, please remain calm." Lin Dong's expression turned grave as he spoke in a low voice. "This demon-marked demon corpse possesses the power of the great completion of the death mystique stage. If it goes berserk, even with the 3 divine artifacts in hand, it might still be difficult to restrain it." The demon-marked demon corpse, hearing Lin Dong's words, nodded slightly before sitting cross-legged in midair. Suddenly, a low rumble, like distant thunder, seemed to echo from within its body. Lin Dong watched as the alien demon aura enveloping the corpse's body began to quietly subside, and the demonic markings covering its body dimmed. Clearly, it was using the power of thunder within its body to suppress the alien demon aura with all its might. Seeing this, Lin Dong let out a small sigh of relief. His mind then shifted, and the ancient cosmic formation in the sky began to rotate. However, this time it rotated in reverse, and instantly, a strange and profound energy started to gather at the center of the formation. This was the disintegration power of the ancient cosmic formation. Back in the alien demon region, Lin Dong had used this very technique to obliterate hundreds of elite disciples from the Yuan sect and even killed the 3 minor kings of the Yuan sect. But now, Lin Dong's strength was far beyond what it had been. As the ancient cosmic formation activated again, its power surpassed anything from before. As the formation spun, the ancestral stone also began to tremble. Soft, pure white light emerged from it, gentle yet intense. At the same time, the devouring ancestral talisman whirled, and from within its black hole, dark light infused with devouring power rapidly coalesced. "Go!" Lin Dong's face tightened, and with a sharp movement of his finger, he let out a loud shout. Whoosh! As his shout rang out, the sky burst into radiant light. 3 beams of energy, each a different color but all carrying an overwhelming, terrifying power, roared down from the heavens. They crashed fiercely onto the demon-marked demon corpse, still sitting midair. Sizzle!